Hello there everybody, and welcome to another little miniature staring at. I haven't actually done one of these in a good while, ever since Yujo Senki. This is another one that's a little bit more related to actually what's going on the screen right now. I'm sure you've noticed, you've seen in the news, all the hullabaloo about loot boxes, be it EA completely fucking over Star Wars Battlefront 2, taking loot boxes out, but then slyly adding, oh, we'll probably add them back later though. To the point where Disney has come in and said, no, fuck you, you're actually turning Star Wars into gambling, fucking stop, I'll kneecap you. As well as Jim Sterling and other games journalists completely demonizing the whole concept. And that's kind of brought me just to think about it, just, you know, because I am a big fan of game design and development, and it's actually something that I have an interest in, something that I would like to do one day, so I just kind of been thinking, are loot boxes inherently poison? I honestly think that there's a case in both directions, but I personally think that no, inherently they're not bad, it's execution. And there are examples of companies that actually do loot boxes fairly decently. Companies that, I shouldn't say companies, I should say games, because one of these companies has put out one game that doesn't do it very well, but has put out a game that has done it really well, in my opinion. But that same company has just received a big old red stamp of no from the big man in red gloves himself, because it just loot boxes in general, and that's fine, that's his opinion. But I do want to talk about it from a point of view of someone who does buy loot boxes every now and again for games that I want to support and I like, and I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna chuck them a couple of dollars here and there, especially when they're games that I either got for free or games that are free themselves. I personally think that the way loot boxes exist in general right now is itself bad. I wouldn't say it's poison, because a lot of people are cottoning on and going, okay, yeah, no, this is stupid, this is bad, what the actual fuck are you doing there, sir? Those companies seem to be receiving really hard end of the stick that they're getting beat over the head with here. Like, EA could potentially lose the license to make Star Wars games over all this fuck-uppery they're doing. Shadow of War got a big kick up the ass from a lot of games media for making it so once you beat the story content, it is really, really, really hard to actually 100% the game without buying orcs from their orc boxes. Assassin's Creed Origins, I've heard less about that game, and I also haven't been able to get hands-on with it, unfortunately. But what I have heard is that while the game never goes, hey, yo, you should buy a loot box, it's never like just shoves it in your face the same way Shadow of War does on the freaking pause screen. I have heard stories of people just running into missions while playing that they just do not have the gear for, so they had to go into the store and purchase gear. That's something that one Mr. Matt McMuscles said on the Super Best Friends cast when he was talking about Assassin's Creed Origins, and that did actually make me a little bit nervous about even playing that, because that's something that really, really frustrates me. On the other hand, though, there are quite a few games, especially ones that I've been playing, that do loot boxes pretty darn well. A lot of you know that I'm a really big fan of Overwatch, and I think Overwatch is probably one of the games that have loot boxes that probably does it the best. With a game like Overwatch, I feel like it could be played entirely without skins, but I mean, now that skins have been put in the game, there has to be a way to unlock them, and I honestly do not see the issue that a lot of people have with the way Overwatch's loot boxes work. I really don't. As just some context, I am I've got to be coming up on like level 300, right? And it takes a little bit more experience to level up each 100, right, in Overwatch. I gain a level in Overwatch roughly every maybe 2 to 3 games, right? Every 2 to 3 games, depending on how well I do, or whether it's a backfill, or, you know, general, like, variables that do change the amount, but roughly every 2 to 3 games, I gain a level, especially if I win. And then every week, you get the ability to get 3 loot boxes essentially for free, but for playing the arcade. And those games, depending on, you know, what mode you play, can take anywhere from like 2 minutes a game to 10 minutes a game. That's 3 free loot boxes for playing 9 games. Let's assume that you do as good as physically possible, and you're not quite the high level that I'm at, and you're like maybe say level, I don't know, let's say 100, you know, like past the 0 mark where you're getting loot boxes essentially like every match, and into the point where it's not as much of an experience gain relative to your level. Assuming that you get a loot box every second game. You get your 3 loot boxes for doing your 9 games. And assuming that that you win every game and you just go through and you only play 9, that's an additional 4 loot boxes. So that's honestly pretty fair in my opinion. That is 7 loot boxes. And I'll admit, when Overwatch did come out, there was a really big problem with duplicates, but as time's gone on, the duplicate chance has been patched and lowered, so you're more likely to get new things. Though sometimes, you know, it's a dice roll, so, you know, RNG will fuck you sometimes. I have very rarely opened up an Overwatch loot box and said, okay, what the fuck, I got literally nothing. I got literally no. I think the only time I've said that is when I'm opening up a standard non-event loot box, because I own essentially every skin that's worth having in Overwatch by this point, because I've been playing it since it came out. Every time I open a loot box that it's got a skin set that I don't have, like these new Christmas chests, so far I've opened 5 of them, and every time I've opened one, I've got a skin that I didn't have, and normally one that I wanted. I got the new Ana Snow Owl skin. I got a bunch of the victory poses where they're like toasting, you know, they got like wine or beer and they're toasting their victory, and I really like that. And I really think that it's probably the closest to the old system that we used to have before loot boxes were a thing, where you would unlock things by just playing the game. You can just not dump any money into a game like Overwatch and you'll still get boxes. Like, of course you're not going to get it as fast as someone who dumps money in, but you're still getting them at a pretty decent pace. Like 3 guaranteed boxes a week so long as you play your 9 games, and however many you get by leveling up. That seems fair, and I feel like that's probably the best method to implement loot boxes into a game if you have to have them whatsoever, and they feel very unintrusive. On the other hand, there's another game by Activision Blizzard that I feel does loot boxes extremely poorly, and that would be, of course, Destiny 2, which I have been playing on stream quite a bit, and now that I've hit max level, I'm starting to unlock loot boxes. The loot boxes in Destiny 2 are called engrams, and I was very confused about how they actually worked. Now, engrams are things that you can get, you can get them from drops, and you get 1 for every level past 20, but the amount of experience it takes to get one feels really funky. Like, it gets to the point where you forget that you're leveling, and then you level up and you get one. You're like, oh, okay, alright, neat. And you get these things called bright engrams. And then you go to the loot box store in the Traveler to open them, and you get whatever's inside. And I've got some decent stuff from inside them. I'm not gonna lie, I've got some decent stuff. I got a couple of spaceships that I really like, some shaders, some like nice. If you've been on my channel for enough, you know what color scheme I like, right? It's white with a light blue and a dark blue. And I've got some shaders that match that, and that's slathered all over my spaceship, all over my motorbike, all over my armor, or at least the armor that I'm not going to be replacing anytime soon, and my guns. I've got enough of those to keep me going. But the issue with the way that loot boxes in Destiny work is that beyond that, there's nothing really all too impressive in bright engrams that I can see. There's a couple of guns that you can get from bright engrams. I feel like I've seen those on the loot list, because they do actually give you a loot list for certain engrams. They seem to really pale in comparison to engrams that you can get, to weapons you can get from the other engrams, like the exotic engrams, the legendary engrams, which are entirely for weapons. And you can just purchase those engrams for real money, which is transferred into silver, or whatever the fuck their in-game currency is called. And the weapons that you get from those just completely kick the ass of anything that you can get. And yeah, you'll still get cosmetics from it, but the fact that you can just buy 20 engrams and have a chance of getting like a really good gun, or like just something that will just completely change the power dynamic and really throw off everyone who should be on an equal footing with you, is kind of ridiculous. And that does actually play into a greater issue that Destiny 2 has with balancing. I can't say how many times that I, a fresh level 20, have gone into the Crucible and just been completely annihilated by people at max level who have guns that can one-shot me from across the map. Like currently in Destiny 2, there is a handgun, or hand cannon, sorry, called Better Devils that has no damage, and I'm saying this from memory from what a friend of mine that does actually play Destiny 2 quite often has told me. It has no damage drop-off, it has no real bullet drop, it's a hit scan, it has essentially a nigh infinite range. As long as you can center the sight over someone's head, no matter where across they are, it will just go right there, hit them in the head, and it will take out their shields in one go, and the second shot will kill them. And I just get annihilated by that again and again and again and again. And every time I fight into a Crucible match and someone has that gun, I might as well just pull out my Ethernet cord because I'm not winning that game. That's a greater issue because that gun, I think it's called Better Devils, I'm pretty sure. You can get that from the engrams you can buy from the store. So if I really, really wanted to, I could just sit down, pop down however much money, and just keep opening these engrams until I get Better Devils. And that's the issue that loot boxes have, and it's the same issue that Battlefront had, that these loot boxes, while yes, they do contain cosmetic things that do change, you know, the people are going to want. People are going to want cosmetic things. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, it's just cosmetic is an argument, when it's really not. If you have a loot box and they have cosmetic things, then people are going to want them, people are going to want to put money in them. And that, I feel, is where Overwatch does really good, because people are going to want the cosmetics, and people are going to want loot boxes, but they aren't going to want to pay for them, so they can instead invest time. And it's not really even that great amount of time, really. Like I said, I get a loot box every 2, maybe 3 games, depending on performance, and that's fine. In Destiny, though, the rewards and skins that you get from the engrams you get from leveling up, the engrams you get from that just do not have the same stuff as the ones you can purchase. And the ones that you can purchase have all these effects, like when you spawn, for example, it can make like a bright purple sheen and be like, hey guys, I'm bright and purple light, when I don't believe you can actually get that from regular bright engrams. You can get lucky, and it can come pre-installed on a ship you get, but I don't actually think you can take that off the ship. So if you have a ship you really, really, really like, but it doesn't have that spawn effect you want, you cannot put it on there unless you purchase a normal paid loot box engram. And if that's wrong, then let me know down in the comments, but this is just from my experience, as I only managed to hit max level on the Sunday before this came out, and I played it for about 5 hours after stream, and I actually did take a look at those loot boxes and the loot tables, and I did manage to get roughly 5 level ups. All in all, I really feel like it's really, really strange how Overwatch can have such a really, really good and robust loot system that makes sense and isn't frustrating, and then Destiny can just shit all over the bed. In the same vein, I've also been playing quite a bit of Division, which also does loot boxes very much the same way as Overwatch. A lot of what you get is just cosmetic. It is weapon skins, backpack skins. I've got a couple of weapon attachments, but weapon attachments in that game, I don't feel like they do much. They just kind of add like, oh, you need a 8 times zoom for your sniper rifle. Okay, that's fine. You can actually get that from actually having a sniper rifle in general, and it's like a 1% increase to headshot damage. Doesn't feel like it tips the balance all too much, because a lot of that game seems to be PvE based instead of PvP based, except for the Dark Zone, of course. But yeah, I don't feel like you actually have to go in there to play the game. I don't know. The Division is more just a distraction for me, and they give you 5 free loot boxes when you start, and opening them I found nothing too disingenuous. Just a couple of weapon skins that I really, really liked, and some weapon attachments that just made my guns a little bit easier to use. Nothing really all too abhorrent there. And then of course you come to loot boxes that are entirely performance based, and they just completely take out any semblance of skill, which would be the ones from Shadow of War, where it's like, oh, I can either raise my orcs and get orcs that I want, or I can just buy like 50 orc boxes and get a whole bunch of legendary captains, and now my fortress for online PvP is never going to get toppled, and I can just steamroll the endgame content. What's the point? It's really an issue that honestly should be looked at on a case-by-case basis. I do not think that loot boxes are a inherently toxic thing. I honestly think that they are inherently a pretty decent thing to have. They're not cancer, they're not like the death of the game industry. They're essentially kind of the final evolution of the old, hey, you've played Rainbow Six Vegas for 100 hours. You've unlocked Master Sergeant. Here, have this helmet that looks like a flight helmet, for example, from way back in the day. I don't even know when you got the flight helmet in Rainbow Six Vegas. That's just the helmet I remember using. But it was a really, really nice helmet, and I saw that if I played for this long amount of time, that it was on the list of unlocks once I hit that level. So I just went and went and went. I played Terrorist Hunt after Terrorist Hunt after Terrorist Hunt after Terrorist Hunt till eventually I got it. And after playing through that back in the day, I honestly don't see the difference between me loading up the Christmas event in Overwatch, seeing the new casual Hanzo skin, and going, right, this is in loot boxes. I can either drop $5 and get 5 boxes, or I can play the arcade, get my 3 loot boxes plus whatever I get from leveling, and if I don't get it there, just play competitive or quick play. And every second match, I get another box, and another chance to get the Hanzo, and in every box I open, it's going to have something that looks decently nice. Sometimes, like, I mean, yeah, like, you get boxes where, like, the dice fuck you, but those are honestly, I feel, like, the exception rather than the rule. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on loot boxes. This was kind of... Now, it wasn't kind of, it was entirely unscripted, and I hope you've stuck around long enough for me to, you know, just kind of talk at you a little bit, and I hope you take my opinion on this into consideration when you're talking about loot boxes and when you're thinking about how the game industry is going. Let me know in the comments what you think of loot boxes, how you think they can evolve or improve or degrade the game industry, and what is your favorite type of loot box. If loot boxes had to exist, what would be your ideal form of it? Because I honestly think that my ideal form would be something very, very similar to what Overwatch does, though I would probably take out a couple of loot types, like the sprays and stuff, because I don't feel like I use my sprays anywhere as often as I use, say, the voice lines, or the skins, you know, or the victory poses, or the play the games. Like, it's just kind of like a thing that just kind of feels like it's on there because Team Fortress has it. And I haven't even got into Team Fortress's loot boxes, which are an absolute disgrace, because you have to either find or purchase those, and then purchase a key, and then have a chance to get a weapon that can make you stronger, or, very, very rarely, get a hat, and then even rarer than that, get a hat with a special, unique effect on it. I think that honestly, is poison, and that's been going for far, far longer. If anything, I think loot boxes have actually improved since then. They're still not good for the majority of these really, really scummy cases, but they're definitely better than they were when Valve first introduced them. And everybody, as always, I am Nozovic. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. Thank you for listening to this little staring at mini-sode, even though it came out to be quite a lot longer than the standard staring at. And as always, I will see you in the next video, but most importantly of all, I will see you around the room.